conductor told me to come here. Here's your telegram. It's Magnolia Black and White.
But I don't know what's wrong with it. Cato.
Yes, Mr. Ben.
Get in the other room. I shouldn't lie down. You have a bad bruise in your head.
It's beyond me. I was took the telegram. It's under that. That's what it is.
Cato, the statements placing the blame for the roller coaster accident are gone, stolen. There's no doubt about who's responsible for that.
Mr. Durkin?
Oh, that's why Buckley and Durkin are so sure about suing the Bailey Sentinel for libel. Now, the evidence upon which we based our story, they've got us right where they want us.
Very bad, Mr. Ed.
There's only one answer. Unless we recover those statements or get new ones from the same witnesses, there's no power on earth that can save us from this libel suit. What's more important, the Devil's Dipper will continue to operate and endanger the lives of hundreds of people. What are you going to do, Mr. All the place. Get every available man out to try and get new statements from those witnesses. If that fails, Cato,
Yes?
this may be one more job for the Green Hornet.
Now to continue our story. With the evidence against the Devil's Dipper stolen, Bitreed sent reporters out in an attempt to get their stories on paper a second time. But the attempt was doomed to fail.
So that's where we stand, boss. I went to every one of those witnesses after you phoned here to the paper last night.
And none of them would repeat his previous statement?
Not a one, boss.
Yes?
Mr. Buckley is here to see you, Mr. Reed.
Buckley? Well, send him in this case. Come in yourself. Bring your notebook.
Oh, sure, Daddy. That guy's here with a summons shows I'm a foot high.
Well, I can't avoid it forever, Lowry. Well, Buckley, you wanted to see me?
I didn't expect you'd be so easy to see.
Get to the point.
I wanted to have the extreme pleasure of serving you with this summons myself.
Don't imagine that you surprised me with this. You're just as crooked as Durkin, Buckley.
You can't talk to me like that.
No, we know all about you. Durkin runs the Devil's Dipper only because he bribed you to overlook its clumsy construction.
You need proof of that, Reed, not talk. Perhaps we should add a slander suit to this one for libel.
You deny what you know is true?
Your secretary needn't take notes, Reed. I'll do all my talking in court when you answer that summons.
Boss, I got a summons. Here, Miss Case, file it. In the wastebasket.
With pleasure.
Were you, Buckley? Open that door, Lowry. Here, where are you? Let go of me. I'll go out, boss. We're giving you the same treatment your summons got, only instead of a wastebasket. You stay outside. Don't show your face around here again, or you'll get the same treatment.
What a heave! I'll sue you for assault and battery, Reed. You can't get away with this.
Go ahead, try it. Only remember, the Bailey Settle's going to keep after your rotten racket, libel suit or no libel suit.
That evening, after Bitreed arrived at his apartment, he described the situation to Cato, his valet and the only living man to know him as the Green Hornet.
Well, that's the story, Cato. The witnesses refused to repeat their evidence. They've been intimidated, threatened.
I understand.
The Bailey Settle's being sued for libel. There's no defense. Cato, it's up to us to make sure this crookedness is settled once and for all.
Yes, sir.
Lowry told me about one of those witnesses, a man named Thomas. He's a tenant at the Devil's Dipper. His job is to inspect the roller coaster after closing time each night.
Will you talk?
If we get one to repeat his statement, the others will follow. Get the mask and gun, Cato. We'll take the Black Beauty. Tonight, Thomas is going to meet the Green Hornet.
Thomas? Hey, Thomas. Yes? What do you want? Let's turn off the music. We're closing up the Devil's Dipper for the night.
Yeah. Not a bad take tonight, huh, Durkin? All right, considering how the Sentinel's been talking up that accident.
We'll split plenty from that libel suit. Okay, Scanlon. All fixed. Except I gotta make my tour of inspection.
Don't bother us with details, Thomas. Go ahead and do your inspecting.
Yeah, make it snappy, Thomas. Me and Durkin will be waiting over in the shack next to the entrance.
I'm going.
Thomas.
Yeah?
Just a word of warning. Remember what we told you about any squealing?
We took care of that statement you signed for that Sentinel reporter. We got him back, all of them, yours included. When that libel suit comes up, you keep your lip button about the accident, you understand?
I ain't gonna talk.
You better not. You know what'll happen if you do.
I told you once I wouldn't talk no more. I ain't got enough.
Hey, look over there.
What?
One of the roller coaster cars is starting up the slope.
Huh?
Well, get after it, Thomas. You must have caught on the cable.
It's empty. How could it catch?
Said that, I'll go over and get it and snap it up.
I can't figure it. Guess the cable control must have slipped and pulled the empty car up the grade. This whole Devil's Dipper ought to be junked. Condemned. Rotten equipment all over. Where's that cable lever? There. Shut off. Guess I'll leave that car there till morning, no use.
You'll be with it, Thomas.
Huh? Who's that? Don't you know this place,
I'm a
Crazy?
special visitor, Thomas.
Hey, you're masked. You're the Green Hornet.
Right.
What are you doing here?
Came to see you.
Me? For what?
You gave a statement to the papers about the accident.
I ain't got it now.
You might repeat it, Thomas.
Not me. I'm doing like Durkin and Scanlon told me to. I'm keeping my mouth shut.
Perhaps they don't believe that.
Huh?
Perhaps Durkin and Scanlon are still afraid you'll talk.
Listen, Hornet.
As long as you're alive, you're a danger.
Durkin and Scanlon wouldn't do nothing like that.
How do you know they don't plan to put you out of the way?
They said they'd pay me plenty for keeping quiet.
Well, you trust them, huh?
I got it.
Suppose I tell you there's no intention of paying.
You just
Suppose they want all that money from the libel suit for themselves.
They're the kind of guys to do a stunt like that, all right, but here, Hornet, what's your stake in this?
Sign this and I'll tell you.
What's that?
Look at it.
Okay. Easy with the gun. I'll look. Hey, this is about the accident.
It's a duplicate of the statement you signed.
Yeah, I thought they burned it.
Not before I got a copy. Sign it.
Huh?
Do you think you can trust Durkin and Scanlon?
What's that got to do with signing this?
When they know the Green Hornet has your signed statement, what'll happen then?
You mean they won't take a chance on doing nothing to me?
Exactly. You're safe as long as someone has your statement.
Yes, but
Besides, they'd pay plenty to get it back from the Green Hornet.
Hey, I never figured that. You're right. You're a smart guy.
Sign it.
Sure, pal. You and me, huh? We'll blackmail him for a load of dough. Yeah, that'll teach some guys to threaten me.
Here's a pen.
Okay. You're on the level, Hornet. You'll split with me.
Whatever I get from Durkin and Scanlon, you'll get your share.
That's enough for me. There you are.
We thought you couldn't be trusted, Thomas.
Huh?
So you would double-cross us.
What the? So that's it. You was testing me. You're in with Scanlon and Durkin.
You were warned to keep your mouth shut.
Tear it up. Tear up that statement. I won't talk or swear it.
Too late.
Don't do it, Hornet. Don't like it. I can't breathe. You're in with... Isn't it that?
Every statement, but it's not enough. We'd say it was signed under threat of force. But now he believes Durkin and Scanlon tried to finish them.
Yes, sir.
We're making sure he doesn't change his mind. Here, take each feet.
Yes, sir. I have never...
Get his arm. When he recovers from the effects of the gas, he'll be high up on the Devil's Dipper in that roller coaster car that's stalled up above.
What for?
After we leave him there, I'm going to phone the police. Then we'll take care of Durkin and Scanlon.
Reed and Cato carried the unconscious form up the narrow catwalk high above the ground. They deposited Thomas's limp body in the stalled car. Leaving Cato on guard, Britt Reed descended and went to the nearest phone, first removing his Green Hornet mask.
Police department? I'm calling from the amusement park. There's something wrong at the Devil's Dipper. Yes, that's right, the Devil's Dipper. Better get over in a hurry.
There's a thinking, Durkin. What's happened to Thomas? He's been gone a long time.
Hey, how's the thought? Maybe that car gave him a little more trouble than he figured.
Yeah, maybe so. Still, I don't trust that guy.
No, he's not going to talk. He knows what'll happen.
Why take chances? No sense in letting him out of our sight this late in the game.
We already burned that statement he gave to the Sentinel.
We can make another one, can't he? Come on.
Perhaps you're right.
We'll soon see if he's around or not.
Huh? There's the car.
Yeah, it's still up there. Stalled halfway up to the top of the first rise.
That's funny.
Look, Durkin. There's someone up there. Is he standing up in the car?
Outlined against the sky. Must be.
Oh, another one. Right beside him. See, a little guy. It looks like he's holding a gun on top.
You're seeing things, Scanlon. It's too dark to tell for sure.
We're going to make sure. Here's the truss going up. We'll climb up the catwalk.
Yes, hurry. Single file. That way's too slow.
Who's that?
Get in this car. What are you?
Yeah.
The Green Hornet. Get in this roller coaster. Oh, you'll get a shot again.
Okay, we're going up.
That's Benny. I'll go with you. The cable will carry us up.
Now listen, Hornet, what's the idea? We ain't done nothing to you. The roller coaster up ahead, it's moving too.
Of course it is. The same cable lifts this one to the top of the first rise. Watch that one as well. See, it's going over the top now.
Hey, one guy got out. He's standing at the top.
Thomas is still in that roller coaster. He's getting a free ride along the whole length of your Devil's Dipper.
Hey, what are you doing?
There you are.
You're jamming the brakes. We won't be able to stop.
Exactly. Once we reach the top of this first incline, this car will follow Thomas's. His brakes are jammed, too.
You can't do that.
What's the idea? Just making sure neither you nor Thomas will be able to get out before you reach the end of the Devil's Dipper.
What are you doing, playing games?
Yes, if you must know. Exactly that, Durkin. You and Scanlon have been playing a game with the public long enough, you and your infernal Devil's Dipper. Now I'm taking a hand in it. Here's the top, and here's where I get off. I'll bet you and Thomas begin this. If you want to catch Thomas, you've got to hurry. He's halfway down already. So here's a little shove. Now you on your way.
These are day passes, Red.
Look at them, Cato. They're already over the first dip and going faster all the time. You fix the brakes on Thomas's car, as I told you? Yep. Good. Either one of them will stop until they reach the end. Thomas is certain that Scallon and Durkin have it in for him.
He takes the same guy, Mr. Dick.
Seeing him come after him will make him even more afraid. You see them? They're going around that curve now with Durkin and Scallon about 50 yards behind.
Should we go now?
Yes, it's high time we were on our way, Cato. But not that way. We walked straight into the police.
How then?
Down the beam. By the time the police get things straightened out, the Green Hornet will be miles away. Here's the Devil's Dipper. I don't see nothing wrong.
This is utterly ridiculous, getting me down to a deserted roller coaster this time of night.
Listen, Buckley.
Didn't a call come into the police saying something was wrong here? And aren't you the safety inspector for the amusement park?
Well,
then this is where you ought to be. Sergeant, there's nothing wrong here.
Looks like a false alarm right now.
Yeah, look at that.
I don't see nothing.
Where, Lowry? Up on the roller coaster. Two cars coming around that last curve. Hey, you're right. There'll be this platform any minute. This is Cal. Who'll be riding at this hour? Open the first, baby. What's that? You, Thomas. What goes on? Who's after you? Lieutenant Shannon. Let me out of this car. Hold it. What's that sticking out of your pocket? Handcuffs or something? It's paper.
Hand that over, Lowry. We're running this, not you.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me read it.
This fuss is ridiculous.
Yeah? You know what the statement is? I have the notice here. This is a signed statement about the accident. Impossible. Those statements were... Huh? That is, I mean... Go on, say it. They were swiped from the Daily Sentinel. That's what you were going to say. That's right, Buckley. Nobody knew about those statements. How did you? He's in with Durkin and Cannon. That's our plenty. Nobody's put me on the spot. I haven't time for this. Boss, I'm leaving.
You're staying here, Buckley.
Here comes your pal. We'll take them in, too.
Up on the platform. Make it snappy.
What's the idea? Move. You're almost up, Durkin. You and your pals. We have Thomas's signed statement right here.
What statement?
Come on, I signed. You ain't putting me on the spot.
He's crazy. It was the Green Hornet.
Sure, the Green Hornet's working with you.
The Hornet? Is he in on this?
That's what I'm telling you. These guys sent him to get me. Only he slipped up. I'm still in the whole work.
Why?
No, that's stuff, you. Listen, officer, I have nothing to do with it. I'll tell you the whole story.
He's as guilty as we are.
We have the goods and all of you. You're going behind bars. If I could lay my hands on a Green Hornet, he'd be there with you. You can't have everything, Sarge. Sure, he got away. But the roller coaster is finished, and so is that rival suit. Boy, I'll bet the boss will be tickled when he finds this out.
Okay, good morning. I'm here. I swear I'm here. I was a little late getting the show together because my video time machine was still processing. I didn't get it done until almost 1 a.m. and it takes 2 to 3 hours to upload and process, and there you have it. And that's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. Good morning. It's August 1st. It is the 1st of August. August 1. Augustus Uno, dude. We're here. Augusto Uno. Yeah. It's great stuff. It's totally fabulous. I'm here. I'm excited. Not really. I'm whooped. Shipped to now. I got started late, and I got it finished late, but I got it done. It's harder and harder to do these things now. 8. Rest in peace in this one. Totally. It's like totally. There goes that sound thing again. I wish it didn't do that. It disturbs me because I've only had this thing like a year and a half, and it's doing audio stuff now. I'd really like to find another one so that I can have more cameras. But gosh golly gee whiz, you know, I'm gonna do this bong hit now because I failed to do it during the opening. I was sitting here trying to get shit together and do my Facebook post, and all of a sudden my show's over, and I'm like, well crap, I gotta get my show started. My radio show is done. I'm lagging here. I'm lagging. Totally. What are you gonna do about it, though? You know, I mean, you either do it or you don't. You either lag or you unlag. All right, bong hit. Totally. Well, technically, it's a good show this morning. Let's see, last night, I didn't get anything written down. I try not to worry about filling out what's on the video time machine, just kind of what I'm putting into it, maybe. Later on, after I know that what has passed, I'll go through and fill this out. And then I'll know exactly what's on the video time machine, every episode. If you want to know which episode has what, let me know, and I'll answer that question. I'm a little cough-y this morning. Doing my coffee. Coughing during coffee. That's it. Oh, yeah. Anywho. I'm trying to keep it together. Trying to keep from being depressed, you know. 'Cause, Because there you go. I could sit like this all morning and just vegetate. Some days I just don't have it together. I just don't. You do. I just don't. I got to go get me tissue. Get me tissue. I swear I'm here. I'd rather be at Disneyland. I would totally rather be at Disneyland. I just want to be in a happy place. And happiness is a state of mind. Well, that's too far to drive to that state. That's just too far. Put a hat on. Yeah. This one will match. Since the shirt it's got some yellow in it. Put on a yellow hat. Because that's where it's at. That's cat. That's cat. That's cat, man. That's totally cat, man. Yeah, that's where it's at, cat. You're a real cool cat, yeah. If my health wasn't so bad, I wouldn't feel so bad. Every day I just fight to have good feelings, to just feel good. That's all I'm doing every day. I'm just fighting to. Sometimes feeling good just means laying down and taking a nap. Yesterday I laid down to take a nap and I was asleep for 4 hours. At least 4 hours, 5 hours. More sleep than I had that night. Right? The night before. That morning, rather. Last night, I might have slept for 2 hours. I doubt it, because I remember seeing the clock at 2 and at 3:30. So, chances are I didn't really get the whole 2 hours. I will today, or tonight, probably today, probably shortly after I'm done here. Well, maybe not. If I've got to take my wife somewhere, and why, pray tell, do I drive her everywhere? Because our country is profiling brown-skinned people, and I refuse to let her go out alone for fear that she might get fucked with. And that's it. And that's the kind of country we live in, where a brown-skinned person can't walk down the street without fear of being fucked with by somebody. Let alone the government that's sworn to protect them, right? Where in all reality, the government is sworn to protect itself. It has nothing to do with us. They are their own entity. We are crap. We are garbage. People don't want to believe that, but it's true. We mean nothing in the scheme of things. The government will do just fine without us, right? They just downsize, man. That's all they do. They'll just downsize. But they'll be fine without us. They can bump off billions of us and they'll be fine. Totally. So today's film at 4 o'clock is The Backstreet Six, and it is about a gang of 6 kids, inner city kids, who get into stuff. They do things, they get into mischief and have fun. Whatever. You know, when I was a kid, there were a lot of days that I did not want to go to school. If it weren't for marijuana, I would never have left the house as a teenager. Seriously, dude. I would have just stayed in bed. I just stayed home. I wouldn't even worried about homeschooling. I would have just said, man, take me out of the system, man. Take me out of the system, man. And they would just say, we moved. He's living back east, right? Because my parents could do that. My parents would just lie, bold-faced lie, right? And why wouldn't they lie on my behalf? I don't want to go to school anymore. Tell them I died. Tell them I moved back east. Whatever. Totally, Wouldn't that be something? We have no record of you in school after the 7th grade. Because that was about the period where I would have decided, you know what? I'm not going back. I didn't have to be there for 6 weeks at the end. Nobody gave a fuck. So I'm not going back. I'm not going back to school, man. I'm not doing it, man. I totally could see myself saying that. And then just fucking sticking to it. No, I'm not going. No, fuck you. Send me to a fucking goddamn institution. I ain't going to school. I ain't going there to fucking be bullied. You know, I can set myself up to be bullied every day. Fuck that. That's why I stopped going in the 7th grade. Just stopped, man. Just gave it up. I ain't going to school no more. And I didn't for 6 weeks. Last 6 weeks of school, right before summer. I just stopped going. That's it. Just stopped going. Why? Every day was fucking horrible. You know, I'd go home and cry and nobody gave a shit. Hey, crybaby. What's wrong with him? I don't know, he's a crybaby. The whole family. Mother, father, brother, sister. Crybaby, crybaby. So what do? You be the crybaby. Totally. But it was that summer that taught me that I could do more than just be a crybaby. I could say, fuck this, I don't have to do this. I used to walk out on my family too. Walked out on them, just lived in a barn, right? They lived over there and I lived over here. They lived inside an old school bus and I lived outside the old school bus. Who would let their kid live away from the family? If it wasn't really their kid, then it's not a big deal. There you go. More clues to my mystery. Mystery. I am a mystery. I'm fucking clueless. So, the video time machine is in the can. It's ready. It will be available at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And it's a hoot. I got done with it. I'm like, oh, I forgot this. And then I'm like, oh, I gotta do this. Oh, I have to fix this now. So it wound up being like well over 2 hours. Like almost 2:20. Almost 2 hours and 20 minutes. Which is another thing I need to put on my records, is how long it is. What I should do is like put what is where. You can go here and find this, you can go here and find that. But it's too much work. It is just so much freaking work. Susie, good morning. Oh yeah. Happy birthday, baby. Happy birthday, Jerry. There you go. There you go. So check this out. Here's some birthday stuff in August for you, right? My brother was born August 20th in 66. I was born August 20th in 68. My sister was born in August 1970 on the 10th, 10 days premature. She should have been born on the 20th too, so they tell me. Some of my best friends, my best friend from high school, his birthday's on the 5th of August. Of course, Robert Plant shares my birthday. I also have a bunch of friends who are Leos, and I can't remember their birthdays. But it's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool. But what's not cool is celebrating your birthday on your older brother's birthday. Because you don't get your own birthday. You just don't. It's like having a twin, but not. Because if we were twins, getting the same thing that your brother got would kind of be normal. But when you're not twins, when there's a 2-year age difference and you're completely different people, giving both of them the same thing is kind of stupid, right? It just says that I don't care if you have your own personality, you get this one that I'm handing to you, here is the personality that I dictate to you. That's the way I felt. I didn't have a choice. To this day, nobody wants to get to know me and my family. They just look at me this way and that's it. So your parents got it on between Christmas and New Year's. Yeah, so you would think. Well, she did. That's all I can admit to. My father was in Vietnam at the time. So, there you go. He tells a great story about his only Christmas in Vietnam was rescuing a fallen helicopter crew. And while she was pregnant with me, she was driving around partying and doing drugs and doing alcohol and doing anything she could to get me like self-aborted. Ha! Yeah, exactly. So there was something going on there. When my father came home from Vietnam, I was living with another family before the age of 1, and eventually was rescued at the behest of my father because he had things going on, and he, you know, his Vietnam thing, he couldn't blame kids for anything, especially after hooking up with a girl in Vietnam and leaving a kid back there. So my family tree has got some twisted fucking branches, and I'm one of them. So yeah, my childhood was great. Today's album is Loverboy, because that's who I am, right? I am Loverboy. This one is from 1981. This is right around. Love those pants. This is right around MTV time. So there you go. Let's see, what do we got here for songs? Working for the Weekend, When It's Over, Jump, Gangs in the Street, Emotional, Lucky Ones, It's Your Life, Watch Out, and Take Me to the Top. So there's that. Yeah. I don't look back at my past and hate anyone over it. I look back and I'm just confused. It's a mystery. I feel like I have to be a detective to figure shit out, right? It's unfortunate that the people that have known more about me than I do haven't come forward. I mean, I've asked at least one relative, what the hell? Do you know anything? And I got some clues. So the clues point to something that ain't good, something that ain't pretty. She was a surfer. She liked to party. And she was also living with her father at the time, who was very, very naughty. Hint, hint. But you'd rather not know. I'd rather know. I'd rather know that I'm at least half removed from this twisted family. Regardless. Or maybe not half removed from this family, but doubled down on the other side of the family. I don't know. Doubled down. I could be doubled down. I could be one of those oopses. That's a twisted oops. I don't want to come out and say it. I don't want to scare anybody. So, yeah, I could be a rape baby. I could be an incest rape baby. There are many possibilities to my origin. If so, I'm just lucky I'm not a frickin' beau retard, I'm telling you. Not that I aren't already kind of screwed up from birth, because I had really a tough childhood because of mental and emotional issues, really, totally straight out. So there, it did whatever happened when I was a baby or in the womb or at my creation, right? Whatever that is, it did cause some damage. It did, and I probably passed a little on to my daughter, but she bears it well. She's a modified version of me, and she is way better than me. So there's that. She's the new model, and version 2.0 of me, and she's, wow, left me in the dust. Yeah. Yeah, we're tough. We are. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna turn off this air conditioner because it's starting to blow cold air down my backside. I'll just keep the fan on, circulating. I gotta have a little bit of sound in here. Like when I'm sleeping, I can't sit in a silent room. If I sit in a silent room, I start to hear what's in my head. Yeah, good. It's nice when your kids are an improvement, Ow. My best friend from back then, junior high and high school. He's married. He got married in 2013 and started having kids shortly after. Has 2 kids now, and they're pretty young. I would imagine they're in their first decade, but reaching their second, possibly in their second decade. I have never met them, and I wish I could do something for them. His family helped me so much when I was a kid. I wish I could do something to help his family now. So I don't know. I just don't know. I'm not somebody with a lot of means, by any means. But if I won the lottery, he'd be my first victim. I would go thrash upon him all kinds of financial resources so he could just not have to worry. He could go back to not having to worry, when your cars take a shit and things start happening all at once and you got kids and it's fucking overwhelming. Believe me, I know. I am not a person that can deal with that kind of shit, and if it weren't for my wife, I'd be living in a ditch or I'd be dead. So I wish there was something that I could do, and I just might try to do something, go start playing the fucking lottery. I don't know. Take a lucky dollar and pick some lucky numbers and hope. Isn't that life? Isn't that pretty much life? Hope you get lucky. Pick some lucky numbers, some lucky people, some lucky something, and hope it works. So what did you do in the morning, Susie? Man, it was depending on who I was hanging out with and what was going on in my life, but my mornings were all over the place. Like I said the other day, I'm just so happy now to be able to eat the same boring thing every morning, because when I was a kid, I didn't have that. A lot of kids had that. Well, I'm tired of mush. I'm tired of cereal. Man, I would have smacked them away from the plate, scarfed that shit down. I didn't have shit when I was growing up. So, my morning rituals were really weird. My morning rituals started in junior high, pretty much because I started to have to be on my own, right? There was one junior high that I went to that was more like a school, right? And then halfway through the year, toward the end of the year, we switched towns and we moved up the valley, and I had to go to another school. And this one was more like a high school. I was in the 7th grade, but it was a junior high, and it was more like a high school. And the teachers were just rude. They were mean. They were cruel, really. The staff, the kids, everybody was just mean and horrible, and I was just getting bullied. And I just stopped going, you know. So, but it was the following year, in the 8th grade, that I began to have morning rituals. I started walking to school with my sister's friend, the family of the people whose front yard we were parked in, right? And I would walk to school with her every day. Every morning I would get into my parents' weed. I would get into my father's pants, and I would dig through his pants to look for a couple of fucking coins. I would try to get $1 together so that I could go up the street to the donut shop, get a little pie and a milk, and then walk my sister's friend to school, and we would get there, and then we would go our separate ways. She didn't know me, I didn't know her. She hung around with a different crew, completely different people, and I hung around by myself until I started to find people. I grew balls over the summer because I had spent 6 weeks on my own ditching school. Over that summer I felt really empowered. And then by the 8th grade, I was just really bold, and I would go up to kids that looked cool, and I would say, "Hey man, you want to buy a joint?" And I would take their lunch money for pot so that I could buy lunch, and they would be stoked. They had eaten today. I hadn't. I had eaten a little bit. They had a big breakfast. They were going to go home and scarf down food. I wasn't. Let's see. Here we go. My life was dominated by my mom, so every morning was sitting at the breakfast table and told eat when I didn't want to, then go to school. My parents were super strict, religious, lots of praying. Ugh. I hear ya. I had lots of friends like that. The girl that I was walking to school with in the 8th grade, her father and mother were highly religious, and they were father and stepmother, and she was not super religious, but she wasn't allowed to hang out with guys like me. She wasn't allowed to hang out with rowdy people. She couldn't leave the house when she got home. My sister was a couple of grades younger than her, and they were best friends, you know, because we were around. They had met at one of the trailer parks that we lived in, and then all of a sudden we ran into them again, and they hooked up again. And it was like that for years until she ran off and went, I think, to Alaska, which was, wow. But I just had this, you know, this empowerment, you know. And the 8th grade, you know, my morning rituals were getting some money, getting high, and getting some weed to sell at school, and then have a little weed after, a little money after, so I could take the bus, you know. And that was, you know, and then my morning on the weekends was collecting walnuts and pecans in big garbage bags so I could sort them with my mother and bag them up in little brown bags, tape them off, write $1 on them, and we would sell walnuts and pecans all day long at the swap meet, bag after bag after bag, and just make great money. She started selling scrunchies, hair scrunchies, little She just took a piece of elastic, stuck it in a piece of tubed, sewn-up material, stitched it together, and shrink. There you go. Scrunchie. And I would sit and help make scrunchies. I'd sit and cut, pin. Yeah, it was crazy. And it was really easy to do that and take shit to the swap meet and sell. And then I would just find my wardrobe. You know, all the little things that a teenage kid wants. You know, Walkman. You know, and I'd get the not the bootleg Walkman, but the off-brand, the generic brand Walkman, you know. And I would have all the generic brand stuff, or the knockoffs, the fakes, and that's what I had, you know. So I could look pretty decent for a, you know, scroungy little 8th grader, 9th grader kid. Once I was in the 9th grade, it was okay to be kind of grungy and scummy. It was before grunge, but I was a rocker, a stoner, a metalhead dude, so cool. Wasn't allowed to do anything, and my 2 oldest brothers were on the little town's police force when I was in high school. Jesus. I was the social pariah, so I did well at sports. That's something to do. There you go. Yeah, I did well at smoking pot, which I've done my whole life. It's what I do best. I remember my father back in the 90s, the 2000s, telling me that I needed to smoke. I needed to stop smoking pot. I needed to quit. I needed to do this, and here it comes from a guy who has, you know, done his best to remain uninvolved from my life as much as possible, or to screw it up as much as possible, right? And then he comes along and tells me that I need to do this and I need to do this, and I'm like, dude, I'm in my 30s, man, and now, you know, I'm trying to step up and get us a place that we can call a family home, and he's stepping up and going, right? It's like, dude, get over it. Tells me I shouldn't have kids. You know, why? Is it because I'm a mongoloid? What? Tell me, talk to me. You know, nothing. You know, he would drop these bombshells every once in a while. Like when he found out I was smoking cigarettes, he sat me down and said, you know, you were born with an enlarged heart and a murmur and all of this stuff. And he looked at me. This is the same guy who would sit down with me and smoke marijuana and smoke cocaine and crack and speed, but it was okay. But I shouldn't smoke cigarettes. It's like, you know what? Aren't you a little confused, right? Is there something you want to tell me? Nope. Just elude. Just elude. Became a pothead at 15 and did that on the down low till I left home. Yep. My parents first introduced me to pot when I was in the 5th grade. However old you are in the 5th grade. It would have been 1979, 80 for me, right? So, yeah, I would have been 11 or 12, and, right, and then the following year, actually, no, it was that pretty much in the same time period, in the same year, that my father and mother sat my sister and I down, and my sister was 2 years younger than me at the time, 10. They sat us down, 9 or 10, and had us smoke pot because we had been up all night, and we were wired on caffeine from tea. We had been making tea and having tea party all night long, right? 1980, 13 years old. Wow. And that was the first time I smoked marijuana. It wasn't long after that I was smoking it with my brother and his friends. My sister, not so much. But later on that year, my father wanted to have my brother do acid because everybody else was starting to do it, and he wanted my brother to do it with him so that if he flipped out, he could take care of him. The only thing is that was great, and it would have been great if my father had been the one to sit with him sober and hang out with him on a bad trip if he was going to have a bad trip, right? But my father decided to take acid with him and made me responsible for the both of them. Not only that, but he took us to Disneyland to do it. So he made me responsible for 2 acid heads and my baby sister at Disneyland. And I'm the ringleader. All right, you're in charge. And I'm like, what? I just want to go fucking have fun, right? You know, you're wrench. Yeah, I don't get the rents. But by 15, I was smoking every day. I was smoking every day because it made me feel sociable. And if not, at least I got over the fact that everybody hated me, right? So there was that. At least I felt better about myself, right? I wasn't so wrapped up in, this fucking shit, this world, these people. It was more like, fuck it. So I was living by myself at 15, 14, junior high. My parents were living in a school bus with the rest of the family. And I'm living in a barn or a tent trailer or up in the rafters of a barn. I'm just trying to avoid being close to anybody because I'm not close to anybody. Good morning, James. How you doing, brother? What's going on, man? But those morning rituals were pretty weird when I was living in a barn, in an abandoned barn with no electricity. I had an extension cord coming in. Totally. Nice. Stephen Stills. That's bitchin' stuff. Totally. So what did we, James, what did you do in the morning? Junior high, high school. What was one of your favorite morning rituals that you did? Mine was stealing weed and money from my parents so that I could get lunch. I would sell some weed, smoke some weed. But early on in junior high, that was my morning. Later on, when I was hanging out with friends in high school and stuff, it was usually hanging around together, getting high, and trying to get to school somehow. That's usually the way it was. I didn't have a license until I was 19 because I got a ticket for driving a friend's car. So I had to get a license so that I didn't have to pay that part of the fine. Of course, I also got busted for marijuana and a whole bunch of other stuff on that ticket. So getting a driver's license helped. But I used to just ride with people. One of my favorite morning rituals is when I was about 16, 17, and I was living with a friend who didn't go to high school. He was homeschooled. But I was living with him and his family. And I would leave his house in the morning, and I would walk down the street to another friend's house whose parents were potheads, and I would tap on the door, and the mom would let me in, and I'd sit there, and she'd be drinking coffee and rolling joints for the day, right? So I'd hit her up. I'd try to give her a couple of bucks, and she'd just give me a couple of joints, and I would take those couple of joints, and I would take one of them, and as soon as I walked outside, my friend from up the street, Gary, would be there in his van waiting. All right, let's go to high school, man. And I'd fucking take this big fat fucking joint and spark that thing up, and we would drive around the lake picking people up. And I'll be damned if that joint wasn't fucking still burning by the time we got, halfway around the lake to school. And then I'd have another doobie for later, right? Because usually my friend's mom wouldn't charge me. She'd probably charge her kids, but she wouldn't charge me for a couple of doobies. She was just the sweetest lady in the world. One of my moms, one of the ladies that mentored me, because I really didn't get much from my own mother. Had mine at 15, and my own car at 16 because I made buku bucks babysitting. And then I was never around, out of there. There you go. I knew a lot of girls who were making money early, had cars early. There's this friend of mine who, darn, I thought she was going to be able to make it to the reunion, but now that everybody's decided to pretend that it's canceled, I don't think she's going to make it. She's in Florida. And she had a car early on at 15 or 16. She left home early and joined the National Guard, I believe. And she was a swab for a little while, which is really awesome. I believe she was in ROTC, and then she left high school, graduated early, got into the... I had friends that did some pretty cool stuff and were working early and had early success. A lot of times it was because their parents just kind of shared their success, right? Like, okay, you can come work at the shop and we'll give you a car, and you can pretend to pay it off and that kind of shit. But there were a lot of us kids back in the sticks there, back in the country, who didn't have shit and really had to go out of our way to earn it. Right. My first car was a van, a 1965 Ford Supervan, and I bought it for $900 on payments and started living in it right away. I think that was at 19. I was in a group home. This is James, in middle school. I would listen to the radio, have breakfast and coffee, then took the city bus to school across town. Okay. Group home, ran on. You know what, I don't know how it was for people who had to live in foster homes and group homes and stuff, but from where I was at, the day-to-day shit and struggles and the lack of attention, the lack of love, the lack of appreciation that I was getting at home, I often contemplated what it would be like to just turn my parents in and go foster home, because there were so many times when I was like, these people are so contrary, these people are so horrible, I just want out, right? I just want out. And whether they were or not, that may be on me, right? But from my point of view, right, it was none too fun. And there were some times that I just wanted out. I just wanted to just leave. And I thought about running away when I was really young. And I was just scared. I was just totally scared about not knowing about the world, I was pretty hardened early on. But I was an emotional wreck, right? Scared of my own shadow. And it wasn't until I was 15 years old and I just said, fuck it, I can't take it anymore, and had to leave. And that's when I actually began to have my own morning rituals that were beyond just stealing weed from my parents and selling it to get money so that I could eat, right? How horrible is that? You got to take your parents' weed so that you can sell it, so that you can buy yourself food, because there's no food at home. But there's weed. Things are a little out of whack there, right? deserves a bong hit. My daughter doesn't know hungry. If she goes hungry, it's in between meals or because she just was too lazy to get up and eat something, right? She doesn't know what it's like to suffer for a long period of time without eating because you have to, because there's nothing, right? She's suffered for long periods of time without eating because she was at a show, cheers, at a concert, with us doing something, and there's just no way to eat at this present time, right? Between an early dinner and a late breakfast, that's, and that's great. But, that's by design. Like, she is by design. She's not an oops. She's not an oops baby. We designed her. We decided this is the day we're going to make a baby because our life is ready, right? Both times we decided to make a baby. We made the babies, with love and intention. Because mainly I was a fucking screwed up fucking oops baby, and I wasn't gonna pass that on. So hopefully, and my daughter shows a lot of sense. Hopefully she won't get herself into an oops baby situation. It's not that it's like the end of the world, but I would like the world to break that habit, right? If we only had babies by intention, by design, with love, I think we would, and we're only allowed to have 2 babies per couple, I think the world would just be a better place. It would. I think it just would. Anyway, what time do we got here? It is almost 6 a.m. I don't know what my alarm is going to do. I don't know when my wife is going to wake up. She didn't say, wake me up. So, that's going to need some heat. I am going to clear a place here on my desk so that we can check out something that I have. It's about 10 minutes to 6 a.m. here on the Pacific West Coast. I had to take some aspirin last night. Horrible chest pains. Yep, I get them. This is my guitar tuner and my guitar cable, and I think I will just hook it onto my guitar, and then bada bing. There we go. So, in my box this morning over here, because we're doing morning ritual stuff, I didn't know what to grab. So, here's my bong, because that was a big time morning ritual when I was a kid. And here's a clock radio. Let me take the cord off here and give it a quick dusting, because it just came off a shelf somewhere, probably in the shed. But this is a great one of those digital clocks. And then I have another one. This is one of my favorites, and I was going to get a couple of these guys. I was going to get a couple of these clocks, the exact same clocks, and what I was going to do is I was going to dress my set with items, and then I was going to find similar items or the same items and then give those away, during specific episodes, right? So I thought, I'll do that. So I started finding things. A coffee and cannabis rider. Totally, I'll ride that. I'll ride that for $1. Let's see, made the Deadheads my family and met Mr. C. James. There you go. Who was a Deadhead 35 years ago. Best thing ever happened to me was the goddamn Grateful Dead. I'm telling you. With me it's been TV. But music has been a lifelong companion because there's always been a radio. There was always a radio in the car, in the van, in the motorhome, in the tent. Wherever we were at, there was at least a radio. So I always had the radio. I always had that music coming at me. And then in the evenings on the radio was the old-time radio shows, The Shadow, Dragnet, Inner Sanctum, Ooh, Lights Out, Suspense. My father was into the comedy stuff, Jack Benny, Bing Crosby, Fibber McGee and Molly and that kind of shit. That's okay. I was into the stories, right? But for the most part, growing up, if we ever had a TV around, it was me and the TV. Me and that TV. My little window on the world. I could go anywhere with that TV. I love the TV. I'm going to have to get myself an older, small TV here on the desk, so we can have our own little window on the world. So this clock here, this is a General Electric. I'm kind of bummed because it's missing one of the little circular silver things, and that's kind of hard to reproduce because of that, how it shines in, and so I could put a little piece of silver tape on that upper one there, but it wouldn't look the same. So this clock radio works, and it works well. I really, really like it. And then there's this one here, and this is a General Electric, and it is, they're both General Electric, and it's just another clock radio. And this one is pretty cool because it's got all the little buttons, sleep, wake, hour, snooze, all of this crap up here, And these things, I get them, I find them, I bring them home, and I put them up on a shelf. And they sit there until I do a show, and then I bring them, and I say, take a look at it, and then I stick it back in the box, and it sits there until I decide what I'm going to do with it. What am I going to do with it? So this, I'll pull this thing out here. Since we're talking about school morning rituals, I've got my peachy folders here, because peachy folders were where we kept our stuff, and we love to draw on the peachy folders, make them holding guitars and stuff, and make it, turn one guy into Ace Frehley or whatever. So totally. Never had access to TV. My first radio was one that one of my brothers made. Oh, cool. Became an electrical engineer. Cool. I stole it and had to hide it under my pillow. That's cool, making those. I wish I was able to make a little crystal radio when I was a kid. So this one here, it's actually got a magazine in it. And this was Weirdo magazine, of course, because Weirdo magazine. And this is an episode. This is a publication from 1982, and it has just great stories, whether it be a photo story or an animated story, like a cartoon, comic strip. It shows you how to draw characters and stuff in the middle of the magazine. It's really a heavy-duty magazine, man. It's got some weird animation. Weird shit. I used to read this kind of stuff when I was younger. This and the Freak Brothers. And all kinds of... I remember Kinko the Clown, something to Pinhead. I mean, it was just weird shit. And then there were the comics in the magazine that my father worked on, and he worked on a pornographic newspaper. Radio was verboten, as well as any magazines, movies, books, unless they were church approved. My parents taught me nothing. Great. Isn't that great? Well, unfortunately, I was raised by wolves, so I got the opposite. I was taught a bunch of lessons the opposite. So it took me decades to figure out how to countermand all of the things. And then I just realized, you know what? If you're ever faced with something, just do it opposite of what your parents would do. Whatever your family would do, just do the opposite. And that got me out of so much trouble, kept me out of so much trouble. Okay, so this here is a bag of bank books that I got in a lot of stuff, right? Somebody gave me a lot, or I bought a lot of crap, just a lot, L-O-T. Right? Not a lot, but just a lot. Not a lot, but a lot. That's what I mean. And so I got a bunch of these checkbooks from the 80s, 70s, and 80s, right? So I've got, what is it, 4 of these things. I've got a couple of these little planner things. Let me go ahead and do this. And this is an address book from Fulton Thoreau Funeral Service back in the 80s. I was hoping there would be a calendar in here, but they're not calendared. So I got 2 of those, and then I've got another one here. This is a telephone address book with a notepad in it. And this is pretty cool. It doesn't have the little tabs, but it's got the other little places for information and stuff, and extra information. So that's pretty cool. And then last I've got, and these are faux leather. This is all faux leather stuff. And then I've got this little wallet. And this little wallet is really cool. And it is from the Bank of Oak Grove, California in Los Angeles. Make the good things happen. Congratulations, class of 75. So these are probably all from the 70s. Class of 75. So this would have been given to the high school students on their graduation, right? Totally, eh? So these are just those weird little things, like those stickers, those peachy folders, the magazine. These are just little weird little things that I'm considering taking to the reunion to give away, because I just got all this weird crap, right? And I don't need all this crap. Right? It's nice to have it until I can find it a permanent home, but I don't need it. So, yeah. It's funny you say that about books and stuff, because my father, who was always reading, during the 70s, it was all about school. He was at college for like three years. And then he was a DJ, and he did that for several years. And then he got back into school and went to UCSD and was trying to earn his bachelor's degree, right? And he was always reading. And even after that, reading. And he never talked to me about reading. He never encouraged me to read. He never sat down and read to me, which would have encouraged me to read. Definitely if he had read to me. Not while I was young, not at any point. And so out of anger, I think, and rebelliousness, I just didn't read. Not that I could, because, well, I had fell out of a tree when I was young, about 7 or 8 or so, 9, maybe 9, and it fucked up my head. To this day, you know, it was up here, but because I've grown, it's off to the side now. There is still a spot where if I rub or scratch a part on my skull, it makes my eye twinge and go lazy and act really weird for a split second. It's spooky. It's really spooky. But because of that injury, I just was never able to read and keep reading and be able to understand what was going on. Books were my escape growing up, particularly lived at the library as a kid. Oh, practically lived at the... Yeah, totally. You know what? I wish I had that. I wish I had the ability to have had the ability to get into doing that. Because I didn't get... it didn't get censored because they didn't monitor that. So it was books and being in nature was where I spent most of my childhood. With me, it was a lot of nature. I spent a lot of time sitting outdoors. I used to draw. I used to get into drawing. But I would do things, and when I didn't get any kind of attention or appreciation at home, I would just stop doing it, right? And I just felt like nobody cared, right? Right. So, yeah, I would draw for a while, and then I would try to share, and it was just like, anything I did just fell flat, you know. There was a lot of times when I was young, really young, the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th grade. Well, let me say the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th grade. During that time period, which was after my head injury, I would have been totally happy just not existing, right? I didn't really understand or know what suicide was, but I knew that I didn't want to exist. I didn't want to be. I didn't know why I was. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I was. And I knew that I just didn't want to be around. Period. And so therefore, nothing was my fault. I don't want to be here. So fuck you. And if I'm in trouble for saying fuck you, it's not my fault because I don't want to be here in the first place, right? So that was my thinking back then. You know, none of this is my fault. I don't want to be here. You know, I don't know you. I don't care about you. You treat me like garbage, so therefore fuck you. And you can't say that I'm in trouble for saying fuck you because look how you're treating me, right? Look, you know. And this was all happening in my own mind. Outside, I was just getting bullied and harangued and harassed and pushed and shoved and crybaby, you know. And the worst part was at home, I was just a crybaby. Nobody would try to understand what was going on in my head, you know. So I was alone, you know, born alone, live alone, die alone. And that's where I was. And there were many periods in my life when I wished that I just did not exist. I had a suicidal period in my teens and 20s where, you know, I hoped that something horrible was going to happen to me. I didn't go out of my way to kill myself, but I would put myself in situations that, well, would possibly lead to my death, you know. And I couldn't do things like that around people that I knew, because then I would have to live with that and their knowledge of that, and I couldn't do that either. So people that I knew back then knew me a certain way, right? And usually it was the wrong way, and they didn't invest any time to get to know who I was really, right? But sometimes I would just leave. I would just extract myself from the picture, whether I would switch families and leave this family and then kind of insert myself into this family for a little while, so that I could get away from people's view of me, people's opinion of me. Everything controversial was ignored and swept under the rug. I knew families that were like that. Some of the families I stayed with would just not talk about stuff and just hide things, and and there would be all kinds of weird shit in the drug use and incest and all kinds of shit in the family, and nobody would talk about it. Everything but talk about it and deal with it. In my family, there was just nothing. There was just a sense of you're on your own. From an early age, you're on your own. When the house is filled with food, you're on your own. If you don't get it while it's there, you're fucked. Your brother got it all again. And that was that. I used to just scarf down milk because I didn't know when I was going to get it again. A gallon of milk would last like a day in our house. There was 5 people, 3 kids, so milk would go really, really fast. And we would rarely get, it's not like my parents were buying milk every day, right? Once a week, maybe we'd get a gallon of milk, and we'd all suck down that gallon really quick, yeah. But we didn't deal with shit. We didn't talk about shit. Just ignored shit, I'm sure my parents thought that they were dealing with shit, but they weren't. They weren't. It's kind of sad, really. Kind of sad. Totally. Well, I can't believe it's after 6. August 1st. August 1st. The Ards of August. Hi. Loco. The Ards. The odds. The odds of August. Last night I was watching Far and Away, a Ron Howard film with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, and a great supporting cast. And it's one of my favorites because I don't like too many Tom Cruise movies, very few. Mostly his early stuff, and this is one of the later ones that I can appreciate. Later meaning after the 80s. I think this one is like 90 or 91 or something, but it's pretty late for me to give a shit about it, because he reaches a certain point in his career where he's moved above doing fun stuff, and everything becomes too serious. Which is kind of the opposite for somebody like Robert Downey Jr., who was totally unserious and wasn't taking his career serious for so many years, and then took it serious for a little while, and then kind of faded, and then took it serious, and then kind of. But it's kind of funny that only recently, in the last in the last decade, that he's really, really started to give a shit about his career and stay out of trouble. Hollywood, that's another thing Hollywood does to you. Makes it so easy for you to get into trouble. I'd like, someday I want to get somebody on here from Hollywood and talk to them about Hollywood and what it was like to be in Hollywood at a young age, and how it affected them and how it still affects them. Because that would be neat. There are a couple of people that I would really love to talk to. Johnny Whitaker. I would love to talk to Johnny Whitaker. I would love to talk to what is that kid's name? crap. Robbie Wrist. There's another one, Corky hair. And then of course there's Jackie Earl Haley. Yeah. And then of course Tatum O'Neal, Jodie Foster, Christy McNichol. Those are people who I just love to sit and pick their brain. They would never talk to a person like me because I'm so removed from their world, and they couldn't be allowed to associate or be seen to associate with somebody of my low standards in life, right? My low station. And that's kind of a bummer. Because I think I would really kill an interview with some of these people, right? So after the reunion and I got my act together, what I might do is once every week pick an actor or actress from the past who I know is still with us and still somewhat active, and for 1 week have their name in the description, the title of my show, and try to get somebody to see it and to watch it and recognize what's going on, which means I'll have to keep my act together and not spend the show ranting and raving about stuff, and actually spend the show talking about the topics assigned for the day. But that would be great. My little back scratcher we got in Alvarez Street, Los Angeles. Oh. Yeah, hear me now. Forget about me later. All right, just stay there. Shoosh. Just stay there, right? Totally. Totally. Okay. Boy, that takes forever to do. There we go. I'm walking down the street. I hit the funniest love song when I'm down on my knee. Hey, we're the chunky monkeys. People like ice cream and something. 'Cause you know what they're gonna do? They're gonna eat the ice cream. I like the ice cream. You like the ice cream. We all like the ice cream. Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. And that looks like we're going around. It's at 3 o'clock. We're just about there. You know. Orderly. So it's after 3 now. And we're getting around. We're going around. And now it's just about 4. It's 4 o'clock. And now it's 4:20. Is it? Did I get it? Yep, that's it. It's at 4:20. Hey, now it's always 4:20. There you go. So I'm going to have to redress my set. I got to take this tapestry here and clean this and roll it up, and it is going to go into the box. Yeah. Oh man, I still have a lot of work to do for the camping trip / reunion gathering, whatever you want to call it. Mainly it's just getting my van together and getting everything packed up and organized and cleaned and ready, right? So there's that. I also I've got to make some plans in case people do show up. I want it to go well. And I want people to know that I did still invest time, energy, and money into it. So, yeah. Honestly, I just hope my friend from up north is able to come. That's all, because if he can come, there's going to be a handful of people in the area that are going to be able to come, right? And I know that most of those people are going to be able to come. So if I can get this one person to come for sure, then I'll have, you know, this guy probably knows me better than anybody on the planet aside from my wife and daughter. Mainly because we've spent a lot of time together. His was the first family to take me in when I was homeless. And I spent a lot of time staying with him off and on. And we've worked together, we've lived together. Yeah. He knows my daughter well, or at least he did when she was younger. So he can't wait to see her. Hopefully I can get the girls down. Hopefully he shows up, and then hopefully I can get the girls down to come hang out for a night, the day, a night, whatever. If people show up with like a boat, and I can get my daughter and one or two of her friends to come down, that would be perfect, you know. I don't really want them traveling without me, but if I can get, you know, get them to come down, maybe with a friend, that would be great. That would be great, totally great. You know, we're just gonna have to see how it's going, But oh, look, a bong hit. Woohoo! Because it's 6:20. Look, my clock is right somewhere. Somewhere out in the Pacific. Yeah. Totally. Keep looking at this last comment, swept under the rug. My parents didn't sweep. We didn't vacuum. We didn't do laundry. We didn't do any of that kind of stuff. I swear it was like being raised by wolves. Going months without laundry. Clean laundry. I gotta heat this up. I gotta. That bong hit. I gotta do it justice. I gotta vacuum today. I gotta vacuum, and I think we have a house later. So there's that. So if we have a house later, or two, that means I have to go out. And we'll have to vacuum this morning before we go out, so that we can take that vacuum. Alright, well, darn it. Hot, hot. Pardon me. We didn't even have a rug. Totally. This would be a good clock to just sit here on the desk, right? Plug it in, get it set right, and then leave it on the desk so that you know where my show is, what time. I wanted to get like 3 small round clocks, put them on a board, or 3 or 4 round clocks. Maybe 5, so that we've got that 1, 2, 3, and then 2, kind of an oddball thing. And then label them and put different time zones on them. You know, Pacific, Mountain, Eastern, Hawaii, you know, London, Australia, that kind of, just different time zones, different places. Places that I would really like to go, I'd really like to go to Australia, I'd really like to go to Japan. I would, eh? Look, they're both islands, don't you know? It's not like I can go up north. No. They don't want my kind up there. They don't. They're not racist up there. They don't like anybody. They just don't like anybody. Or anybody from, like, anywhere else, though, Eh? Radio, clock. Let's look at a TV guide. Let's look at a TV guide. Today is Friday. Let's look at Friday. Prime time, Friday evening, August 6th, 1976. Hollywood Squares, Zsa Zsa Gabor, Michael Landon, Sandy Duncan, Jonathan Winters, David Brenner, Earl Holliman, George Goebel, Rosemarie, Paul Lynde. Now, most of these people had TV shows on at the time. Most of these people were on TV regularly. Michael Landon, Zsa Zsa Gabor, Sandy Duncan, Jonathan Winters, David Brenner, Earl Holliman. I don't know about George Goebel or Rosemarie. I think Rosemarie was on all the time too. Paul Lynde, he had his own show at the time. There you go. So let's see, 8 o'clock on Friday, August 6, 1976, Donnie and Marie. Special guests, McLean Stevenson, Henry Blake on MASH, Minnie Pearl's Chicken Restaurants, right? My father worked there. Rick Hurst. Oh, Rick Hurst. I think we just paid tribute to him. And there you go. And then, of course, they do the song, I'm a Little Bit Country. I think I saw this show. I think I did see this show. I think that's when my father said, hey, I used to work at Minnie Pearl's. Yep, no shit. No shit. Also, at 8 o'clock, Sanford and Son. And a movie, Mixed Company, adopting 3 youngsters from different racial backgrounds results in mixed company for a couple. Oh wow, sounds like a pilot. Joseph Bologna, Tom Bosley. Jeez. It's kind of a yours, mine, ours thing. Gotcha. Only it's theirs, and theirs. All right, 8:30, The Practice. Comedy. There's The Practice now. That's a drama. This is different. It's totally different. It's got Danny Thomas. Yeah, I ain't gonna watch that. I ain't a Danny Thomas fan. Nothing bad about the guy. He just doesn't do it for me. All right, at 9 o'clock, Dustin Hoffman and Mia Farrow in John and Mary. Never heard of it. The Rockford Files. And at 10, Police Story, Upstairs, Downstairs, and a pilot, Don't Call Us, Jack Guilford and Alan Miller. Huh. portray Larry and Marty King, a pair of brothers who run a small-time theatrical agency. All right. Another pilot after that at 10:30. You're Just Like Your Father, Dick Shawn. He plays a crackpot entrepreneur whose newfangled ideas failed to shake up the business world. Yeah, there you go. At 11, Survivors of Hiroshima. At 11:30, Rookies, Johnny Carson with guest host Joan Rivers, John Biner and Barbara Howard, and Wayne Rogers are the guests. Mary Hartman. Midnight Special, here we go. Elton John and Kiki D. Seals and Crofts. Peter Frampton. J.D. Souther. Wow. James Brown. What a great show. Alice Cooper. Is a salute to Alice Cooper. Wow. That's great. Don't Go Bringing My Heart. They do that song. That's great. That's awesome. That's great. That's great. And that takes us into tomorrow morning, which is another TV guide. Let's take a look at Friday in 1978. 1978. It would have been August 4th in 1978. So let's see what that gives us. Don't go breaking my heart. Shut up. I couldn't if I tried. I will. I'll break it. All right, 7:30, Hollywood Squares. Roy Clark, George Gobel, Jack Klugman, Linda Lavin, Paul Lynn, Rose Marie, John Ritter, Elkie Summer, and Jimmy Walker. Ooh, Muppet Show, Julie Andrews. Ooh. Whoop. Whoop. All right. Okay, here we go. At 8 o'clock, August 4th, 1978. 8 o'clock, Tabitha. That's the grown-up daughter of Bewitched, right? Tabitha. Played by Lisa Hartman. Black Sheep Squadron is also on. Dr. Seuss, Horton Hears a Who is on. Wow. Wow. That's heavy, man. That's totally heavy. Also at 8 p.m., Turnabout, a news magazine. Carol Burnett and Friends. At 8:30, Operation Petticoat. That is pretty. Jamie Lee Curtis is in that show. But it's kind of it's a comedy. Dr. Seuss, The Lorax. And we get to 9 o'clock, Take the Money and Run. That is a Woody Allen movie. Also at 9, on August 4th, 1978, Rockford Files. Rockford's client is a secretive woman who hires him to find her. First televised in 1974. Royal Heritage documentary, The Life of Queen Victoria and Prince Albert in a Can. Sidney Poitier movie, A Warm December. Firing Line. King Creole, Elvis Presley. And at 10, we have Quincy. Evening at Pops, a performance at Wolf Trap. And 11, we have Dick Cavett, Love American Style, more Love American Style. Johnny Carson, Lola Falana, Shecky Green. Wow, that's crazy, man. Midnight Special in 78 is a repeat of the 1972 series opener with John Denver, Linda Ronstadt, Helen Reddy, Cass Elliot, War, the Isley Brothers, Harry Chapin, David Clayton Thomas, and the Everly Brothers. What's really cool about this one is that John Denver does, Leaving on a Jet Plane. and it's Cass Elliott's song, and he sings it, and she sings backup on it, and she messes up, and it's kind of cute. But they're on there together, and she comes on at some point and talks about voting, right? Because it was like 72 was a voting year. But Take Me Home, Country Roads, right? Linda Ronstadt, she does a great song. Helen Reddy, oh yeah, Helen Reddy. Oh, she's hot, man. I'd love some Helen Reddy. Are you ready, Helen? And that takes us into Saturday morning and the cartoons, and I would have stayed up late to watch Midnight Special, and then would have gotten up early to watch cartoons and some kind of weird movie or show, and then people would have started getting up around my house around 10 or 11. I'm going to go check on my wife and see if she wants to get up early today. That was my alarm, so I'll be right back. Okay, she does not need to get up. So go to sleep then. What are you doing awake? What the hell? The dog wakes up. The dog, right? Sam, the dog of the house. I open up the door and I say, "Do you need to get up?" And he's right next to her on the pillow, and he lifts his head up and looks at me, and then looks over at her. She says, "What?" "No." And he goes back to sleep. With his head on the pillow, tucked in, up to his shoulders. And that's the kind of dogs that we have. They're big babies. They're spoiled rotten. They're fat. They're lazy. But they're well loved. Big time. That is good stuff. Alright, goal this weekend. I need to knock out this list of stuff to do. It's over there. And I need to get some different denture cream. Something that's not so, like, all day. So that I can start wearing them for briefer periods. The tape is okay, but I gotta pre-cut a bunch, and it's hard to get them right. And then once I get one right, then I just gotta kind of trace around, you know, and cut a bunch the same. But even then, it doesn't quite work right, and I have to use a little bit of glue here and there. I mean, it is what it is. I should probably cut a bunch of tape, take it with me, and then take some hard all-day glue, and then some not so all-day glue when I go camping, so I can wear my teeth when I'm down there. At least while there's somebody around. You know, hey, call me when you're on the way so I can put my fucking teeth in. Because I'll just sit there at camp by myself until somebody shows up. Hopefully nobody will show up without me really knowing, right? Because if somebody shows up in the area and wants to come by, all they got to do is shoot me a message on, you know, Facebook, which I'll have to keep activated with my my phone. Use my phone as a hotspot. So I don't use my phone that much. I think I used it when we were camping. and used up a lot of the data. I hope I'm not on the phone the whole fucking time. I don't want to be. I just want to be there, listening to music, watching a movie, you know, playing the guitar, reading a book, just chilling. Which reminds me, I need to get the other guitar out and get that one ready to go. This one's nice, but it doesn't have enough sound, so I gotta get that. I don't want to take an electric guitar. Too much hassle, not enough room. But if someone shows up, I'd like there to be a guitar, a tuner, a capo, a slide, some picks, right? And then we can do something. Even if it's just me, I can do something. So I'm going to get that guitar, bust it out, get it in here, and start practicing at least one song. If I can play at least one song, you know, that'll be good. It's doing it with my teeth, and that's going to be weird. So I'll have to practice. Practice. I'll just grab one that I can deal with, and then practice it for a couple of days, a week, and then be ready. What the hell? Something easy. Maybe one or two songs that I'm pretty confident, you know, covers that I can deal with pretty well. I'm thinking of Kenny Rogers, maybe a little Elvis Presley, a little Bob Dylan, maybe. Something like that. That'd be cool. Totally cool. Totally. Let's see. It looks like I'm ready to do a bong hit here. I guess I'll have to get my act together here. It's getting close to 7 o'clock this morning, but I think we're just going to go. We're just going to go for it, baby. In hopes that someone else is going to show up to hang out. We're just going to go long. Because it's Friday. And I won't have anything over the weekend but work and some computer stuff. I've got to get my shows together. And also I need to start putting together programming for another couple of months so that I have time to do video time machines easily, and I've got time to do holiday stuff because holidays are coming up. But most especially so I've just got time away from the computer. When I spend a couple of weeks just loading up my channel for like 2 or 3 months, that's 2 or 3 months that I don't have to worry about what's on my channel, right? I load up 5 educational films a week and do a program guide, do a video time machine, do my live stuff, but I'm not uploading like 20 to 30 videos a week. I try to knock that all out in one big chunk. You know, give me 2 weeks and I can load up my channel for 2 months. So I got to do that again. I got to load me up to the end of the year, basically. October or September, October, November, December. Right? So I need to knock out 4 months of programming. That's a lot of stuff. New programs, new time slots, right? All kinds of stuff's going to happen. I'd like to keep this live stuff going for a full year. I'd like to bump right into where I started, right? And do 52 weeks of programming. Granted, I'm not here every day. Every once in a while, I'm camping or doing, you know, something important with my family. So there you go. There's that. I'm gonna load up one more bong hit here, And then I'm just going to pack the rest of that into my one hitter. Because I have had such little sleep, I don't think I want to smoke a whole lot today. I don't think I can. At some point, I'm going to have to go work. In fact, because I have to go work at some point today, what I probably should do is get the show done relatively soon and then crawl back into bed for a couple of hours, right? That would be the best thing to do. Totally, man. I don't usually do the best thing, right? Usually I slack and do the not so best thing. Yeah, I still have a lot of stuff to do to get ready. And hopefully I can knock a lot out this weekend. I think I'm going to try to keep my early schedule rather than just try to sleep in and sleep in and sleep in and sleep in, because I'll wind up taking a nap anyway. So I think I'll try to get up early, get up with the sun, get up before the sun, have my coffee, and then get out there to the van and first of all, I think sweep a spot behind the van on the concrete and get it clean. And then clean my van out, empty it out of everything else, and clean it out, vacuum, do the windows or whatever, and dust it. And then start packing stuff into it that's going, right? I got to get the cooler in there, I got to get the firewood, the tent, the canopy, the tarps, the tool bag filled with stakes and ropes and hammer and axe and a leaf blower and the vacuum and batteries and the charger, you know. And then there's all the other stuff, the kitchen. I need to bring the kitchen, you know, and that's 2 big wooden boxes and a little stove, a bunch of pots and pans, cups and plates and saucers and bowls and silverware and all that crap, utensils. I gotta bring it all. Gotta bring it all, man. Lights, flashlights and camp lights and camp radios and boombox, and the list just goes on and on and on. And then I gotta get it all into the van. Hope the van's gonna make it, be okay. And I'm just going to take it easy. I am going to take it easy on the highway, doing, 55 all the way down to the freeway. Get on the freeway, do fucking 55. Get off the freeway as soon as possible and go 55 the whole way to Elsinore. And just take it easy. And just take the back way the whole way. If I break down, I'm going to get towed to the campground. And just show the guy, look, here's my AAA card. I was on my way to camping. I was so close, I decided to just come and camp. And then if I can't get it to work while I'm camping, I'm going to be here for 3 or 4 days. I'll just have it fucking towed home. Look, here's my AAA card. Don't worry about it. And just do it like that. Have the tow truck park me where I want to be, and just, that's it. That's it. Let it go like that. Right? Sure, why not? I think I might actually do that. I might just crawl back into bed. Hold on a second. Let me go grab something. Yeah, we are. I had to grab a couple little breakfast donut bar thingies. So I could... I can hear dogs bouncing around in there. Mainly so that I could have a little bit of nourishment now and not have to eat breakfast. My daughter and I drank the last of the milk last night, having muffins. So While there's more muffins, there's no milk for breakfast, so I'm gonna have these little lemon blueberry dipper thingies. I don't know. They're like an old-fashioned donut. But it's really good with coffee. Yep. So I got a bunch of cool stuff I'm gonna take with me for the reunion, because it's really cool. Pardon me. I have to get food in me. That way when I'm done with this, I can just kind of go lay down. Take it easy. Every time there are people here, and then all of a sudden it feels like there's no one here, my brain is racing to try to figure out what I did or said to scare everybody away, right? My own insecurities. That's heavy. That's heavy. Yep. And then I wonder, was it part of the show? Was it something I do on the show that turned people off? Is it the TV guide? I hate TV guides. Stop reading. I don't know. Weirds me out, man. It's just because I don't understand the whole YouTube thing. Totally, eh? Eh. Yeah. Far out. So I guess what I should do is get the room ready here to vacuum and then go lay down. I don't want to vacuum while everybody's asleep. But when my wife wakes up, she'll see that it's ready to vacuum. And she'll either vacuum and wake everybody up, or once we're all up and we're just about ready to leave, we can vacuum. Because, got to do it, especially with dogs. So these were the last the last readings from these two TV guides. And these were from 1976 and 1978. And Terrorism on Television, and the Not Ready for Primetime Players from Saturday Night Live. And these were fun. They had at least 6 or 7 cigarette ads in each one, which is pretty cool, Gotta love the cigarette ads, man. Yeah. Oh yeah. My daughter has the coolest green hair right now. It's pretty awesome. She gets compliments wherever she goes, because it's just such an awesome shades of green, and then she's still got some of her dark brown in there too. So it's just like dark green to light green, and it's just really cool, the highlights and accents and stuff. Makes me a little jealous, because she's got such great hair. She cuts it herself, and she's always, you know, doing stuff. It looks really cool. I keep saying, okay, you know, that looks awesome, but you need to stop, and you need to let it grow out a little bit, you know, and then you can kind of do more with it, because you're going to start getting limited the more you mess with it, right? Her bangs. She has to cut her bangs. Oh, that was really good. That really helped. Yep. I am going to do just that. I am going to get done here. And then just ready the living room for vacuuming. So that way it's ready to go. Ready to go. Clean off the tabletops and shake everything off. Put my records and laser discs away. I had a shelf in the corner over there, and it's a shelf inside of a shelf unit, and it's the bottom shelf, and it fell. The front fell down. So now I got a whole row of records there that's leaning forward, and I have to pull every one of those records out and put spacers underneath the shelf to keep it up and level, and then put the stuff back into it, because it's a nightmare, and I don't want to do it. So I've got a little big stack over here, about this big, of discs, LPs and things that I need to get put away. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of these cubby holes here that has books in it. I think I'm going to transfer these books to another shelf and use that shelf for records, so that this whole shelf will be records, and all of that will be, it'll pretty much be all records in here. That's a lot of shit. That's a lot of shit. I need a bigger house. I need to win that lottery, right? That's what I need to do. I need to win the lottery. Win the lottery, and then, you know, I don't know, buy a place in Colorado, buy a little place here so my daughter can come see her friends, buy a little place in Mexico, and then, what the hell, get a little place in Australia. I would totally do that in a heartbeat, you know. And then in other places, just buy my friends' homes, right? I mean, if I'm like multi-million dollars, like hundreds of millions after taxes, I would have no trouble just buying homes for people, right? I wouldn't just buy, you know, huge mansions. I would buy a nice little 2-3 bedroom home that's a fixer-upper. You know, here's a house that needs some work, here's a little bit of money, have at it. You don't owe anything on it. Live. I'd love to be able to do that, you know. And then have little houses all over where, you know, somebody comes by, hey, there's a tiny home in the back, hang out. That'd be cool too. I've always been a dreamer, though. If I were to win the lottery, I'd probably be dead within a year, right? Not because of over-consuming or bad habits or something. I'd probably give up a lot of stuff. I'd probably have some surgeries and not have to worry about paying too much anymore. But more than likely I would get it, and then luck, Murphy's Law, would take over. And it'd be like, yeah, he was great, and then he was gone. Which, you know, would be okay. It'd be a hell of a way to go out. You know, go out happy and wealthy, and, you know, all that enjoyment of taking care of friends and family and stuff. That would be neat. That would be like Undercover Boss, that kind of thing, where you find out who needs help and gives them help. That's it. Just gives them some help, and do it. Just do it. Just do it. do what I can, however I can. If I had the means, man, I would do so much. Yep. Mainly, I think I would buy a big piece of property, hundreds of acres, maybe thousands, in the middle of Colorado or something, and then just turn it into a town. Start off small, right? But turn it into a town. Build streets and infrastructure and a charter and a codes, and subdivide it for building. Yeah. That would be great. It would be a hub. It would be a circular hub, right? It would be a city park, a center that would be devoted to the community to gather, right? Out from that, it would be community assistance stuff, the schools and hospitals and all of that stuff. Out from that, it would be commerce, and well, actually, it would be residential all the way out to the edge, and the edge would be commerce, right? And then that would be the outside, and then if it got bigger beyond that, then it would be more residential, and you would just double the commerce wheel before you create more residential, and then that would pretty much be it. That would be the community, you know. And there's, you know, streets that go in circles, and the spokes that come down that bring all of those circular streets, you know, a bullseye looking thing. But in the center, it would be just this big giant park, a central park, and it would have, depending on the size, it would have a lake or a pond or something, right? Preferably with water running through it. So the water comes in, creates a lake or a pond, and then the water goes out, regulated by 2 dams. And then while the areas that are designed for community programs and commerce and stuff would be, you drive down the street and there's building fronts that go up 3-4 stories high on either side of you, right? So you actually have city streets, and as you'd make a left or a right, either going in toward the center or out away from the center up these spoke streets, you would see the buildings after a block. The buildings would disappear and become rolling hills. So if you were to look at the backside of these buildings, it would just be a hillside with trees and benches and stuff, and at the very top there would be a fence to keep you from going any further and then into the city, right? So as you get away from the hub, it becomes more rolling hills, and all of the residences are subterranean houses built underneath rolling hills, and little subterranean garages and driveways, so that you don't go down so much as you just go in to a hillside, right? And that's the way it is. And after a few streets of a residential neighborhood like this, you get out to the outer hubs, and you have commerce and industry and that kind of stuff, spaced far enough out so that you're not really harassing the neighborhoods. And because when you're driving down the commerce and the industry streets, you see tall buildings there, but when you're in the community part, the neighborhood part, everywhere you look, it's hillside, because the backs of the buildings are hills. Easy peasy, right? So now we live in communities that feel like you're in the country, but you're literally blocks, footsteps away from stores, from the hospital, from the community center, from the school, from your job, right? Everything's right there, right there, right there. And these hubs, these spokes and these wheels, right, going out, they're not for normal traffic. They're for small electric vehicles, bicycles, and pedestrians, and that's all. If you want any more than that, the idea would be to have outside the neighborhood, have parking structures where you have two garages, one for your out-of-town car and one for your in-town car that's electric and that takes you to your home. Because gas-powered stuff, normal vehicles that go on the road aren't allowed. The wheels that contain commerce and industry and services, right? Those actually have beneath the ground roads, subterranean roads, and sub-basements below every one of those buildings in that area. If you're in a neighborhood that has that, you can have a subterranean garage and have your car come directly to your house, right? Which is great, but for the most part, you want to keep those services and all that stuff that brings in heavy traffic, you want to keep that toward the outside. And then, if at all possible, begin the infrastructure by building those subterranean roads, subterranean, what do you call it, garages, subterranean delivery systems for commerce and the other things that make a city function, right? So that you never see delivery trucks, you never smell diesel fuel, you never smell gasoline, right? Everything is solar powered, wind powered. You could take something like this and create an artificial island, right? And never see one vehicle. Just make it all, you know what? You got to have little tiny little things to get around. Make, what do you call it? Conveyor belts that take people from here to there, right? That's possible too. But just think of a community built on community for the community, you know, where you'd never have to leave the community. Everything is there for you. Everything. In fact, what would be really neat is if in the center of this city, where it's all park, right, that there would be a water park, there would be some roller coasters, there would be arcades, there would be like a boardwalk along the lake. There would be all of these things so that you would feel like every day you could just go on vacation just by going to the park, you know, just by going to the park. Nobody's homeless. Everybody's got a place to live, right? It's a city designed to be like solo, right? That's it. It's like a gated community, right? There has to be, because it's rolling hills and everything looks like a park, even at home, right? There would have to be a lot of natural growing stuff. So stuff that doesn't really need to be kept, shrubs and trees and things that keep it green, right? So there wouldn't necessarily be a lot of maintenance, right? We're not going to have sprawling lawns everywhere, because that would defeat the purpose. Now you're just sucking up water to feed lawns, right? You would need stuff that can grow in the area naturally, right? In between the dwellings and the subterranean areas and all of that, right? So you would also need groundwater, right? That's pretty heavy, groundwater, as well as running water through the park, the central park. You would need probably a freeway on the outside, right? A freeway that comes in and goes around the entire city and then comes back out. Or a freeway that goes from either direction, goes around, right? So that people can now get to and get out of the city. You could put it between 4 or 2 freeways, right, in the middle of the X, right, so that now you have to go around, because you can't take a freeway through it, so you'd have to go around. You can't even take cars into the city. So everything would be public transport, which means it would have subways. It would have a monorail system, and I think it would have I think the old streetcars were a great thing, and it would probably have streetcars. If you were to get to like the park, the Central Park, and you go out from that and you get services and some commerce, and then that street, that main street that does a complete circle around that infrastructure in that big giant city center, right? And if you were to take and put streetcar that went all the way around, right, and a station at every spoke that came down, right, and it would just stop at in between every 2 spokes, it would just stop. And when you get to the center, the spokes are getting pretty close, right? And then each spoke would have some kind of rail or subway or monorail or something that would take you to the center and back out to your part of the neighborhood. You know, your little street, east or west or left or right. But it would take you up, and you'd get off, and then you just grab your bicycle and you ride down to your house. There you go. You walk, because it's not far. Nothing's really far. And if it is, you just have public transportation. So I've sat here in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and have designed a city that is friendly to the environment, right? Everybody gets a place to live, balanced with the community's needs, the commerce and the social services, and everything's there. Industry. You know, most people are working from home. We only produce what we need. On the outer outskirts, you've got a big giant chunks in the wheel, between spokes and wheel. You've got these big giant pieces of land now that become farmland. Most of it's farm, some of it is dairy. You know, I wouldn't want to raise any animals for slaughter. I would want to raise fruits and vegetables and nuts and stuff that humans can consume, rather than to feed all of that to the animals and have to feed 10 times as much to the animals just so we can eat the animals, right? It's not enough balance there. So I would probably go that route, and use products that are, you know, designed to replace meat, because there's a lot of good products out there now that replace meat, and it's pretty good. You know, we'll see the long-term effects of that, but so far it's a pretty good thing. And then you don't really need meat, and if you do, you don't need it all the time, you know. And And maybe it's like, if you want to raise some meat on your property, you can do that, And I think it would be great if at somewhere in the neighborhood there was like, here's a spoke going out to Wheel streets, right? Spoke Street out to Wheel streets, and at every spoke and wheel block there's a community park and a community garden, so that when you walk down to the end of your street from one direction to the other, you're walking to your park or your garden where you can grow your own fruits and vegetables, trade them with neighbors and that kind of stuff. And if we have some neighborhoods that are designated for livestock, then you can do that too, and you can raise livestock. You have got to put the money into purchasing food for them, because we won't allow the land to be used to feed the animals for slaughter, period. So, it's after 7 here. I'm going to do a bong hitsky August 1st. My birthday month. I'm hoping that I finally have some good luck and actually have some fun in August. Last year it was great. I had great fun in August with my daughter, with my wife, and it's yeah, before that I don't think so. Not because of my wife and daughter, but because of somebody else. Yeah. It's hard to get over when close friends just go wonky, And it hurts so much. I mean, I got sent into such a depression. It was horrible. It was horrible. I couldn't even function, couldn't do my show, couldn't do anything. For like a year, I was just like, bleh. Bleh. It sucks. It totally sucks. Well, yeah. Alright, well, I guess I'm going to cut it off. I got to get rolling. I don't think anybody's here with me, so I'm not going to feel bad about cutting out of here. Besides, it's after 7, right? So there you go. It is time to get out of here, because what the hell? You all know what to do, right? Spread peace and love, not bullshit. Do something for yourself out there, but do something for somebody else too. Why? Because it makes you feel good. Makes somebody else feel good. Makes the world a better place. Most especially stay weird. If you ain't weird, ain't nobody gonna be weird for you. You gotta put in the effort. You gotta do the work, baby. My favorite way of being weird is going out there and just being nice. Doing something nice for somebody. And then like, oh, can I pay you? And I'm like, no, I'm just being nice. Oh my God, this dude is so weird. He doesn't want any money. Oh my God. Alright. Take care of yourselves, people. Take care of each other. Be good. Be nice. Spread peace and love, not bullshit, not war. Wait, there's no need for hate. Come on, people. How many times can I say this? Take care of each other. Alright, people. Until next week, you all take care. Have a great weekend. And adios.